Their parents say they must have wandered out of the sliding glass door of their house. They say the door is nearly silent. But as usual, the internet doesn't believe them, and the lack of clear evidence has left a big gap to fill with rumors and speculation. What's real and what's made up? This is the story of Jack and Lily Sullivan, the missing kids from Nova Scotia, and all of the wild theories about their disappearance. Hi friends, I'm Katie, and this is Katie Does Crime. Thank you for joining me for the first time if you're new here. I'm a Midwesterner who now lives in New York City, putting my writing degree to use by researching true crime cases that interest me, and hopefully you. And hello to the usual rapscallions and reprobates. Please consider subscribing or joining me on Patreon if you'd like to hear more true crime stories. When I first heard about the search for Jack and Lily Sullivan, it was in an article about people on social media spreading misinformation for views. It can be really tempting sometimes to go on here and talk about an ongoing case and discuss rumors when people are craving information. But I always think back to like the quote-unquote hoodie guy in the Idaho 4 case who was seen in the live stream of the food truck where Kaylee Gonzalez and Madison Mogan were ordering takeout hours before they were killed. People were obsessed with him. People thought he was the killer and the police just weren't doing their jobs. But then he definitely wasn't the killer, and I'm thankful I don't have a video out there proclaiming the guilt of hoodie guy. But I'm also interested in Jack and Lily Sullivan because they remind me of the case of Summer Wells. So I hope you'll bear with me as I look into the facts and try to avoid the nonsense. Jack, 4, and Lily, 6, went to school on April 29, 2025 as usual. They live near Lansdowne in Pictou County, Nova Scotia. Jack loves bugs and dinosaurs, and Lily loves typical girl things but loves hanging out with her brother more. Their bus driver dropped them off after school on that Tuesday at home, where they live with their mother and her boyfriend, who's called their stepfather. His brother and mom also live on the property in a nearby trailer. The following day, there was no school because of a teacher's professional development day. On Thursday and Friday, the kids were kept home sick by their parents because Lily had a cough. On Friday morning, their mom, Malaya Brooks Murray, and stepdad, Daniel Martell, were in bed with their 16-month-old baby. 33-year-old Daniel wasn't getting much work at the local sawmill, and Malaya was a stay-at-home mom. The kids were doing kid things in the kitchen. Lily came in to see her parents. Everything was normal. The adults may have drifted back to sleep. But at some point, they realized the house was quiet and that Jack and Lily were gone. So were the kids' boots and Lily's white backpack with the strawberry print. Daniel, who had been in their lives for 3 years, went out to look for them in his vehicle. At 10 a.m., sensing something was very wrong, Malaya called the RCMP, Canada's National Police. A vulnerable missing persons alert was issued in the county, and a search immediately began. A helicopter provided air support as ground search and rescue teams combed the densely wooded area around the house with dogs. There was no cell service out there, making it more unsafe for searchers, but they still came out in droves to help. RCMP asked for people to check their sheds and the ditches on their properties. The Nova Scotia Guard, a new volunteer organization, was put into action for the first time. Lily was thought to be wearing all pink, while all they knew about Jack was that he probably had on a pull-up diaper and his blue dinosaur boots. Both kids are members of a First Nation community, one of the Indigenous people of Canada. An Amber Alert wasn't issued because there has to be a belief that a child has been abducted for that to happen, and the RCMP saw no indication of that. The kid's stepfather believed that they had wandered out a sliding glass door, which he said opened silently. He said they don't typically stray far from home by themselves, but, well, you know how kids are. They don't do a thing until they one day do a thing. RCMP was concerned that the kids had likely never been alone in the woods before and would encounter a lot of challenges in that terrain, especially since it had been raining and cold. They were concerned that Lily and Jack might be afraid of strange adults and the sounds of helicopters looking for them. Still, days into the search, with more than 150 officials and volunteers on the ground, they believed the children could still be found alive. A pink blanket was found, but their stepdad, Daniel, said it didn't belong to them. Their mom said they wouldn't usually go outside on their own. She and Daniel always watched them when they wanted to go out. She said, "We always make sure that we're out there with them, watching them, and they happen to just get out that sliding door, and we can't hear it when it opens, and they were outside playing, but we weren't aware of it at the time, and the next thing we knew it was quiet." I can't tell if she's just making up a story here based on the most likely events, or if she realizes in retrospect that she was hearing them outside through the door when she thought they were inside. But her pain does seem real to me in interviews.
I'm just staying as hopeful as possible. I want them home. I want to hold them. And I want them home. We're all filled with pain and sorrow because we just want them found. We want them home. Everyone loves them. I just want to remain hopeful. But there's always, in a mother's mind, you're always thinking the worst. Last night was one of the worst nights because I didn't have them in their beds. And I don't want to go through that another night without them.
She told CTV News that there were possible boot tracks in the driveway that led toward the road, but the police weren't sure who they came from. And she said reports that her kids are nonverbal and shy were false. They both possibly have autism, but she said it mostly just affects how they keep up with the other kids in school. She said, "They're both really happy-go-lucky children. They're so sweet. They talk to anyone. They'll talk your ear off. They will speak to anyone in a store, everyone. They're just extremely sweet kids." She still wanted an Amber Alert issued just to get the word out, while the kid's stepdad wanted the airports monitored in case they'd been abducted.
Lee and Jack are awesome kids, very, very kind. They'll talk to anyone. They want to go with anyone. They're just looking to have as much fun as they can. Jack just absolutely loves bugs, dinosaurs, and anything like that. But Lily loves girly things, but she also loves doing everything with Jack, bugs. They're like best friends.
By May 5th, Daniel told the media that Malaya had left home to be with her family out of town and had blocked him on social media. He wasn't sure why she had left. But he said he was cooperating fully and had given the authorities everything from his bank account statements to his Google Maps history. Aside from the parents, the RCMP had 35 people they wanted to interview at this point and had received almost 200 tips, but nothing was panning out so far. They scaled back the search on May 7th and then started it back up again full force with a renewed focus on the area around the house on May 16th. Finding nothing, searchers were called off again after that weekend. And that's where this case is now, basically at a standstill with no obvious evidence to go on. With Jack and Lily Sullivan being missing for weeks now, a former dog handler with the RCMP called it just really strange that the children haven't been found. A search mission coordinator with the Virginia Department of Emergency Management said that he compiled data from 500,000 searches around the world, and in those, only 5% of search subjects were not located. But he said the search area may not have been big enough in this case, or the tangle of trees and bushes may have made the kids too hard to spot. You can imagine they might have curled up and hid somewhere in the rain and fog. Other experts say that there would usually be evidence if something nefarious had happened. Strangers don't usually come to remote wooded areas with dirt roads to abduct specific kids. They kind of just take whoever happens to be unattended at the mall or the gas station or whatever. And two kids don't usually just vanish together, except when a parent is involved. And it's either a little suspicious or incredibly bad timing that the kids happened to be out of school for the 2 days before they disappeared. It sure would be nice if their teachers could at least say that they were healthy and happy at school that day, but there was that day off from school and then they were supposedly kept home due to illness. The RCMP has said they aren't completely ruling out the idea that the disappearance is suspicious and the major crime unit is still involved. But for right now, they say there's nothing to make them think the kids, or sadly their remains, aren't in the woods somewhere. Of course, people on social media think very differently. The family has been told by the police not to talk to anyone, and the RCMP, of course, have to be careful what they say, both because the authorities rarely speculate to the public and because they wouldn't want to give anything away if they're investigating a possible suspect behind the scenes. That has left a huge gap for internet sleuths to fill with rumors. People say meth was found in the house and the kid's mom left to detox, but other people say they know her and she isn't an addict. Another rumor is that CPS threatened to take her baby if she didn't leave the home with the baby. People say the kids were sold for drugs. They feel like it's a huge red flag that the mom blocked the stepdad on social media, like that must mean he's guilty of something. Of course, it could just mean that she blames him for inadvertently letting something happen to the kids. People say they would never leave the area where their kids disappeared, but if she really thinks her kids were abducted from the home, she might just feel like she's protecting the remaining one. Someone noticed a discarded, filthy mattress in the backyard of the home and said it seemed odd because these don't seem like the type of parents to get their kids a new mattress. People say their sliding door makes noise. There's no way this family's sliding door was almost silent. There's no shortage of theories. My favorite was a person who said they feel like the kids were a burden to their mom and made her depressed, but this person believes they'll be found, surrounded by butterflies. I have no opinion on the guilt or innocence of the parents because there simply aren't enough facts to form one, but I will say that it seems to me like they can't win. If they keep quiet like the authorities evidently told them to, people will think they're not doing enough to help get the word out. If they talk to the press, people will pick apart every word they say. If the stepdad didn't offer up his bank statements and cell phone to the police, he would be suspicious. Because he did hand over those things, people see him as trying too hard to appear innocent. He also offered to take a polygraph test, which those of us who watch too much true crime know is mostly nonsense, but it still means at least a little something to me when someone is so willing to take one. But maybe he thinks he's smart enough to beat one.
It will never be enough for a lot of people online. I mean, everywhere I go, people stare. But that's something I have to live with until, the truth makes its way out, and the truth always makes its way out.
And another thing that's interesting to me is the kid's boots and backpack being missing. Not to be another person adding to the speculation, but I can see two children putting on their boots and backpack when they're about to go on an outside adventure without their parents, especially if they had decided they wanted to go to school. But I'll wait to see what the RCMP says, and I hope this case reaches a resolution soon, even if I expect that the result will be sad. If you know anything, please contact Nova Scotia Crime Stoppers anonymously at 1-800-222-TIPS or submit a secure tip online at www.crimestoppers.ns.ca. And as always, please let me know what you think about this case in the comments. Thank you for tuning in today. I'm just a true crime fan like you are, and I really appreciate you taking a chance on me. Please like and subscribe to my channel if you like spending this time together. I would be so appreciative. Until next time, I'm Katie, and this has been Katie Does Crime.